Former PlayStation exclusive is coming over to Xbox, plus a lot of other stuff to talk about. So Godfall was a third-party console exclusive that released with the release of the PlayStation 5, developed by Gearbox, and it was a game when it first came out. I guess when they first showed it, people were excited for it. Then the reviews came out and it wasn't really as good as it looked, didn't live up to any of the hype that people had for it with the release of the PlayStation 5. So overall, I don't think this game met a lot of people's expectations, and it was locked to the PlayStation 5 until now, as they have announced that the Godfall Ultimate Edition is officially heading over to Xbox and PC. So it's going to be available on April 7th now for Steam, the Xbox Series XS, and the Xbox One. And what is really great about this edition of the game is that it is the Ultimate Edition, which is going to include the base game, the Fire and Darkness expansion, and the 3 content updates: Primal, Lightbringer, and Exalted. On top of that, you're also going to get access to the pre-order bonuses, which is something you would have had to pre-order the game for the PlayStation 5 to get back when it first launched, which has the Ascended Edition content. Gearbox also announced that there will be a big update coming to the game that's going to launch the same day as the Ultimate Edition, and this latest update will be available if you pick up the Ultimate Edition. And it says here the latest update will introduce highly requested player features such as streamlining inventory management and Knockdown 2.0, a new recovery skill that will allow players to quickly get up and continue fighting after being knocked down. A new mode called Spirit Realms will also be added, allowing you to experience co-op with up to 5 other players. And gameplay was also an issue with this game apparently, and that's also going to be overhauled with this update, saying that some major additions include all the weapons coming equipped with timing attacks that you can execute after using a weapon technique, as well as the inclusion of a revive system, which should make co-op a lot more enjoyable. And finally, there's going to be the Exalted Tower of Trials, where enemies can reach a level as high as 150. So this is a bunch of new content. This is going to be pretty much, I guess, like a new game when it releases with the Ultimate Edition. And to top all of this off, the price for this is only going to be $29.99, which is kind of a slap in the face to PS5 users who pre-ordered this game when it first came out in 2020, because you were getting a much worse version of the game. I'm assuming a lot of people who picked this up didn't play it that long, and they were paying that premium, I guess, PlayStation price tag for this game when it first came out, which was $70. So pretty good deal, I have to admit. Godfall is not a game I'm that interested in based off of what I saw when it first released on the PlayStation 5, but for only $30 you're getting all of this content, and this update is probably something that could be worth checking out when it's released. All right, jumping over here to some Xbox Game Pass pricing news, and it has to do with prices getting cut in India starting in April. But this isn't the first time we've seen this. We previously saw prices cut in the UAE. So for here in India, it sounds like the pricing is going to be cut about 28%. And they say, we regularly evaluate the price of Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Live Gold locally to provide the best service to our customers in each country. These price adjustments were reported based on local market conditions in each country. This is a continuation of the price adjustments we made in selected countries late last year. So they're obviously always looking at how much Game Pass is selling for in different parts of the world, and if it would make sense to reduce that price, you try to increase the amount of people who subscribe to the service. I wonder what the numbers are in India specifically. I think PlayStation is very popular in India, and people in India are still buying like PS4s to play games like FIFA and Grand Theft Auto. But there was also a bunch of news that came out last year where they would walk into a store and a PlayStation 4 wouldn't even be available, but then they would see that there's a Series S, and they didn't know that within Xbox Game Pass, you could play games like FIFA and play games like Grand Theft Auto, which started to move those units more. So I think a lot of this has to do with just marketing that service in these countries to allow people to know that the games they want to play, a lot of them are available on Xbox Game Pass. So you can see here from this graph, the price decrease, the 28% cut in the pricing in India. And I wonder what this is going to do, if this is going to push this service more for gamers over there. So some big news here from CD Projekt Red, and that is that they have announced that they are starting to work on the next Witcher game, which for a lot of people, they're probably very excited about this, but not as excited as they would be if Cyberpunk wasn't such a flop, or at least wasn't such a flop when it first released, because I think that's going to have a huge effect on how The Witcher does and how people perceive this game before it comes out. And CD Projekt Red is going to have to make up a lot for the launch debacle of Cyberpunk 2077. But anyways, here is the announcement. Here's what they say. We're happy to announce that the next installment in the Witcher series of video games is currently in development, kicking off a new saga for the franchise. This is an exciting moment as we're moving from Red Engine to Unreal Engine 5. So that's really cool. They're going to be using Unreal Engine 5. So this game has the chance to look just absolutely amazing. Beginning a multi-year strategic partnership with Epic Games. It covers not only licensing, but technical development of Unreal Engine 5, as well as potential future versions of Unreal Engine where relevant. So they're going to closely collaborate with Epic Games, and that probably has you thinking and asking the question, what does this mean for the release of this next Witcher game? Is it going to be an Epic Games Store exclusive? As I think if that was the case, it would already be starting the next release of The Witcher on a bad foot. But luckily, they have already answered this, and they say here, we are not planning on making the game exclusive to one storefront. So who knows if that's going to stay the same by the time the game releases, because here's the thing right now with CD Projekt Red. It's going to be very hard for a lot of people to take their word up front for whatever they say about The Witcher 4 or whatever the next Witcher game is going to be called. With stuff like this, kind of have to wait until it officially comes out, or till they officially make that announcement. They show off the game, they have that trailer, and they show all the places it's going to be available, because they lied a lot with Cyberpunk 2077 with the way that the game ran on PS4 and the Xbox One, virtually unplayable. And people spent their money on that game, and it was just absolutely terrible. One of the worst releases, and I think the entire industry learned from that. I'm guessing they're not going to make those same mistakes with the next Witcher game, because this is a franchise that has a huge fan base. It's much more important than Cyberpunk 2077, and they can't be messing up like they did with Cyberpunk, or all faith will be lost in CD Projekt Red. We got some breaking news here for what is potentially coming from a showcase perspective from Ubisoft, who, as we know, have a ton of games in the works that people want to see more about. People are excited about games like Avatar, upcoming Prince of Persia, Beyond Good and Evil 2. Where is that game? They showed that off a long time ago, and we haven't seen anything else from that. Skull and Bones, which continuously seems like they've been working on forever, but it just isn't coming out. We got some more information on a potential showcase that could be coming, which may showcase all of these games, or at least a big chunk of them. So this comes via Xfire, and I believe this is Tom Henderson, who's known for breaking a lot of news with like a lot of first-person shooter stuff. And it says here, according to several sources with direct knowledge of Ubisoft's plans, we can report that a big games showcase event from French publisher has been in the works for some time. To avoid game announcements being drowned out by the competition, the event was meant to go ahead before this year's rumored E3. Now with E3, we still don't officially know what's going on with that. They've canceled the in-person. Then there are rumors that they were just going to cancel the entire event, not have any digital. And then I think last week or 2 weeks ago, Tom Henderson actually had said that publishers or developers had been receiving their press emails, so seemingly saying that the virtual event is on. We don't have any dates. We don't have an official announcement yet, and we're almost in April, so I'm assuming that is going to come soon. And hopefully there is an E3, because I did enjoy it last year, and Xbox had a great showcase there. But E3 or not, Ubisoft is planning something, and they just don't want to be drowned out by the E3 event whenever that is going to be. So they say here, we understand that a total of 20 games are lined up and ready for some form of an announcement in the near future, whether at the delayed event or otherwise, from brand new game reveals to development updates, release dates, and trailers. So that's exciting, because there's a lot of stuff in the works at Ubisoft that we've heard about. And here's a list of some of the stuff to remember that is going on right now, games that they're working on, games to look forward to. Skull and Bones, that's like that pirate ship game. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which I believe they first showed off and announced at last year's E3, and I think that was one of my favorite highlights of the show. Just very excited to see what this game is all about. The Division Heartland, that's that free-to-play game that we've heard about, but we haven't really seen anything of it yet, or haven't seen anything new of it yet. Immortals Phoenix Rising sequel. I really hope they make a sequel of this game. I don't think this game sold very well, because it got cut in price like right away after it came out. but it is an absolutely amazing game. If you haven't played Immortals Phoenix Rising, it's one of those games that is a hidden gem. It flies under the radar, and a lot of people just didn't give it the time of day, but I highly do recommend it. Assassin's Creed Rift, and what we know about this game is that Ubisoft was planning to release it as some DLC for Valhalla, but they are not doing that anymore, and they're going to release it as a standalone game between whenever it's released and when Assassin's Creed Infinity comes out. And it's not going to be in the open world RPG style. I think it's going to be going back to the older styles of Assassin's Creed games, which I think a lot of people are excited about. Then we have Assassin's Creed Infinity, which is going to be that live service style of Assassin's Creed game that is supposed to also still have single player content, which I hope it really does, and I hope it has deep single player content. Ghost Recon Frontline, the next Ghost Recon game. X Divine, that's that free to play first person shooter. Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake. We haven't seen anything else on that, but very excited to play that. A new Prince of Persia title, The Crew 3, the racing game. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. That is that Mario and Rabbids crossover strategy style game, which, I mean, the first one I haven't played, but I've always wanted to play it, and I heard the first one is very good. Got Roller Champions, which I believe was delayed, and it's like a multiplayer rollerblading game. Beyond Good and Evil 2, like I said, I really want to see more of that one. I'm very excited to see what's in store for that game. Splinter Cell Remake, which was just recently announced. I'm assuming that's not going to be coming out for a while. Then a bunch of mobile games. So there is a lot of content that can be shown off at a Ubisoft event. Who knows when it will be, and I'm hoping that we actually get a real announcement for this soon. So finally here we have some acquisition news, and it's another one here from PlayStation. They have decided to purchase Haven Studios. Now Haven Studios, if you remember, about a year ago was working on an exclusive PlayStation game funded by PlayStation, and it was going to be a big games as a service multiplayer game, but they were an own independent studio, which obviously is not the case anymore. And there's an interview here with Herman Hulst and Jade Raymond, and they talk about why they wanted to go ahead and purchase this studio. And basically they say that they have seen what they've been working on, they really like it. The fact that the studio is based in Canada was also enticing because there were no other PlayStation studios in Canada, and they want more studios to grow that multiplayer games as a service style of game. As we know, PlayStation does not have very many of, and they are focusing more on those going forward. Games as a service is huge. I mean, they need more of those games. That's why they've purchased Bungie. They got a studio in there, which will really help them grow that part of their portfolio. They know that that's where a lot of the money is being made within video games, and a lot of time is being taken up from gamers within games that are continuous for long periods of time. And this is just another acquisition that is kind of pushing them towards that direction of trying to get more multiplayer games as a service games to be able to compete with, I mean, Xbox has tons of multiplayer games, first-person shooters, and games as a service games that they have and are making. Now, this is funny because we always hear about the thing about PlayStation wanting to grow studios organically and not purchase studios. And purchasing Haven, I don't think is that, because they've been only working with them for 1 year. They haven't released anything yet, so they don't actually know the quality of the product that is going to be finally coming out when the game does release. But we also look at the amount of purchases they have made over the last 31 months. Insomniac, Housemarque, Nixxes Software, Bluepoint Games, Firesprite, Valkyrie Entertainment, Bungie, and Haven Studios. So they are now really investing in order to grow their internal studios. And the last two ones, Bungie and Haven, are really going to be pushing forward that games as a service and multiplayer side of things that they want to have in order to be able to compete with other multiplayer games out there. And it's really just showing us the industry right now, the acquisitions, the companies strategically positioning themselves for the future for things like subscription services. They see what Xbox is doing, they see Game Pass and how successful that is. And in order to have a successful subscription style of service, you need to have tons of content coming out all the time. And one way to do that is to have lots of internal studios making content, similar to kind of what Netflix does, as they are always putting out Netflix production. Now, Haven in general is ran by Jade Raymond, who is known for really the creator of the Assassin's Creed game, one of the most popular franchises of all time. So it'll be interesting to see how the work from Assassin's Creed, as well as she was part of the team that created Watch Dogs, how that's going to translate into a multiplayer games as a service game. And we'll see if this is in any way going to be able to help them compete in that area of games when compared to Xbox and Xbox Game Studios. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Lots of news there. Let me know what your thoughts are on all of that stuff. What do you think about Godfall? What do you think about the PlayStation acquisition of Haven Studios? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, you enjoyed what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.